What's up guys, Whitaker here from Grand City Media. We've done a lot of different things so far on Cooking with Lang. I asked on Twitter, what's the one thing you guys want me to show you how to make? The number one answer I got, steak. So tonight we're gonna do my perfect steak dish. I came up with this when we lived in New York City, and I had to be able to figure out a way to cook steak without having the whole fire department come to my apartment building. So this is a pretty foolproof way of cooking it, perfectly medium every time, because everybody likes their steak medium. And it's gonna be delicious, steaky goodness. It's easy to do. It's Cooking with Lang. Let's make some steak. Today on Cooking with Lang, we are making steak. Let's start by talking about the cut of the steak. For this recipe, I use a strip steak. You can see it here. It's pretty thick, probably about at least an inch thick. I use strip for this. If I'm cooking out on the grill or doing something, feeding a lot of people, I'll use something a little more affordable, maybe like flank steak. Ribeye is kind of a good in between here, but strip steak's readily available. And for this recipe, you're gonna cook it for a good time in the skillet. You don't want it to cook all the way through and get it well done. So strip steak's kind of perfect for this. Step one, prep the steak. And this is really complex, it's really involved. Pay attention, make sure you don't miss this. We take salt, coat the steak, and a little more. We're gonna put a little black pepper. And now we flip it over. We're gonna take salt, we're gonna coat the steak, and then we're gonna take a little black pepper. And just to make sure this other side gets a little love too, do that, get all these sides in there. Won't really stick to the fat, so I don't really bother with that piece. But, okay, we're done now, it's ready to cook. How hard was that? So the whole trick to this recipe is you don't want the temperature to go above like medium high. The whole time we're gonna cook it around medium, like on a scale of 1 to 10, about a 6. We don't want tons of smoke coming off of it. We're gonna cook low and slow in the skillet. So I'm gonna get this going at about 6. And then the only thing we're gonna put in there is some butter. We'll put about 2 tablespoons. That's probably gonna end up being enough. To cook this steak, we might have to add a little bit more fat of some sort, olive oil you could, or more butter if you want to. The butter goes in the skillet, let that melt. And then I'm gonna put some rosemary, just still on the sprig, that goes in. And then I got a couple cloves of garlic here. I'm gonna leave them, they're still in the skin. I'm just gonna pop them a little bit so their flavor is gonna run out into the fat. They're gonna go in there too. We'll let that butter melt a little bit, and then we'll go in with the steak, and good to go. All right, so the butter is almost all melted. We're gonna go in with the steak now. And normally when you have the pan, when you put food in, you hear like the big sizzle, you know, and that's the big reveal moment, but we don't really want the sizzle. We just want the steak to go in there, sit there nicely. There's a little bit of smoke coming out. That's okay, we don't want a ton of smoke. We just want a little bit of smoke. If it starts sizzling and popping, we're gonna turn it down a little bit. But now we're just gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it for 6 minutes, 7 minutes. No touching, leave it alone, 6, 7 minutes, and that's all you need for side one. We're halfway through cooking this steak on the first side. And there's a little bit too much smoke coming off this. You see, like, you can probably see it if you just look at it. There's a little too much smoke coming off this thing. I don't want that much, so I'm bringing this off the heat a little bit for a second. And I'm just gonna turn this down a little more. There's a lot of residual heat in that pan that's gonna keep cooking. And still got a couple minutes to go. It smells unbelievable right now. Garlic, rosemary, steak, salt. I mean, it's like my 5 basic food groups, well, plus pepper. We're gonna eat it in a minute. It's time to turn the steak over. So I'm gonna put one more pat of butter in there. It's like another tablespoon. It's gonna melt. I'm gonna also put another sprig of rosemary in there, just fresh flavor. And now I'm gonna flip the steak. It's the first time we get to see how we're looking on the other side, so let's check it out. Oh, look at that. And we never had the heat above, what, halfway? So this is the point if we were on one of those PBS cooking shows, they would sit down at the table and explain the science behind it. I don't understand the science behind it, I just know this works. So the other butter melted. I'm gonna drop this guy back in on the raw side. And the one thing I like to do right now is I'll take this spoon, and I spoon some butter over the top of this guy. to help kind of sear that meat, seal it, get the flavor in there. Time's up. It's been 7 minutes on side 2. We're gonna flip it one more time. Check this guy out. Looking good. I'm gonna use this spoon a little bit more of that butter over the top. And our steak is done. Now the one thing we're gonna do is let it rest. You don't cut into the meat when it comes straight off the grill or the skillet or the stove, whatever. I always put it on top of a fork, which I'm gonna do right now, because you tried so hard to get that nice crusty exterior on it, you don't want it to sit in liquid. So sitting on the fork, it's gonna sit up there. We're gonna wait about 5 minutes. We don't have to wait a ton of time because it never got all that hot to begin with, but we're gonna wait about 5 minutes and then it's gonna be time to eat. Time to eat dinner. So the steak is rested. It's been sitting there, just chilling out, hanging out. The strip steak, I usually just cut it like that. So let's cut it right down the middle and see how we're looking on the inside. Perfect. Medium to a little medium rare even. I bet on the ends it would be more medium well, but this is the way I like my steak. And you see that it's hard to cut through even the crust. It's so strong on the top. This sauce on the bottom, you can use that as a sauce. You don't want to eat that fat. Some people might want to. I don't want to. I'm gonna eat some steak because steak's the best. Something about like a well-seasoned steak. The salt, the pepper gives you that crust on the outside. It's so juicy, there's so much to it. You don't really taste the butter so much, but you do get a little bit of that garlic and that rosemary. It's a perfect steak. We didn't smoke up the kitchen. Perfectly cooked, 15 minutes. This is Cooking with Lane. It's steak. You can make it, do it, make steak, come on.